Hi, I'm Karen Shade Lanier with Cherokee Nation Cultural Tourism, and this is Cherokee Artist Showcase. Today, we're visiting with Bessie Russell. Bessie is a Cherokee language speaker from the Rocky Ford, Oklahoma area, and she is also a Cherokee National Treasure, received her designation in 1999 for basket weaving. You can currently see her work on display in the exhibit Bessie Russell, Weaving a Tradition, now on display through October 30th at Saline Courthouse Museum. Bessie, how are you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
It's good to visit with you. So you are from Rocky Ford, Oklahoma, which is in Cherokee County, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And are you from that area originally?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
What was it like growing up there?
Oh, just a typical little kid. Run around all over the place. Played.
Yeah. And when did you begin working in basketry?
Well, I keep thinking it was back in the 70s, maybe mid-70s. And that's when I started. Well, I went to class at Oaks. And I think the classes was once a week. For how long, I don't remember. So that's where I started. But after the classes were over, then I just kind of put it aside for a few years, I guess. But I got back into it back in the 90s. And from there, that's where I learned how to gather the traditional honeysuckle reed, and that's where I started making traditional baskets and gathering the traditional dyes too, which was my favorite was black walnut and bloodroot. That's was my mostly what I used. You know, there was other things, but it just didn't work for me, so I just stuck to the two colors.
Bessie, what was it like working with your mentors, Thelma Forrest and Mary Foreman?
Oh, they were inspiration to me, you know, and Mary is really the one that got me started in the traditional basketry, you know, and traditional dyes. And what I like to use was black walnut and bloodroot, but as I said before, there's other things that people used, but it never did work for me, so I just stuck to the two colors. Yeah, I had to go gather that just like we did the reed. So when we got enough, we'd bring it home and process it and make it into dye baths. So, and then soak our reed for, well, sometimes took a little bit longer. It just depended on if you want it darker or lighter. But I never could really get real dark brown, but the colors that I got worked, so I just stayed with that.
So in this show at Saline Courthouse, there are some examples of some of those basketry pieces that have, the walnut, that have the walnut dye, the bloodroot dye, and also various pieces you've done in honeysuckle, some that you've done in commercial reed, some in, flat reed. There is one in particular, actually two, that are examples of flat reed work for which you're not really particularly well known. And I think that there's a little bit older pieces. How did those come about? When did you make those?
Well, if I remember the first one, I think they sent me to Kenwood School or community building, And in the process of teaching the class to make them, that's where I made that basket that I've still got. And I always said that was my first one, so I'm surprised that I still have it, because I don't remember the basket I made from Thelma's class. I don't know what I did with it or what happened to it, but this flat reed that I made, I still have. And that was back in the 70s when I first started.
Mm-hmm. So you have, the flat reed, and then you moved on eventually to doing the traditional work. And we see a lot of examples of that in the honeysuckle in particular in this show. But we also have examples of two clay bead necklaces, these clay beads that you rolled by hand. Tell me a little bit about your interest in making the clay beads.
Well, I just had different projects going, so I just picked up some. Well, I won't take credit for the clay because Jane used to give me some just the remnants of her work. She's a potter, and that's where I started making the beads. Just what she had given me, because she said she just throws it away anyway, so she started giving it to me, and that's where I got started making those beads. But that's a long process, just like the basket reed, traditional reed.
And you're speaking about Jane Austen, another Cherokee National Treasure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's also kin to me.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about your favorite dyes. They work for you, so you continue to use them. Which materials out of everything that you do, which are the easiest to work with?
The easiest? Uh-huh. Ooh, nothing was easy. It's all about the dyes. You still had to process it and soak it, and that's the walnut. You just put it in water and let it turn color. And bloodroot, I always just kind of smashed it up instead of sticking the whole root in a water, to get the dye. I just smashed it up, as small as I could before I put it in the water to get the dye. And was the same as the black walnut. You could either get a light orange, dark medium orange, or real dark orange. But you had to watch it. If you wanted lighter color, you had to watch it when it got to that color you wanted.
So, Bessie, you learned from two Cherokee National Treasures, and they were your mentors in basketry. But you've gone on to become a teacher in your own right. You teach other students through some of your classes that you have held. You've also taught some of your family. Is that important to you? Is it important to continue passing this knowledge and this ability down to other generations?
Very important. I keep trying to encourage my girls. They both can weave. They're basket makers too. But my class, I always encouraged them carry on and teach others, what they had learned, and hopefully they learned enough to be able to do that. And I really enjoyed teaching. We had fun, I guess you'd say. We'd weave and we'd talk and eat. We always, and I don't know, I just enjoyed them, and you just kind of bond with them, and most of them I still keep in touch with, and I just enjoyed it, enjoyed it, and I really do miss it since I've slowed down now. I miss teaching, and I miss the students. Most of them came for at least a whole year. And they felt like that would take that long to really learn what they wanted to learn. So.
And of course, you were teaching them everything from how to source and process the materials in addition to weaving the baskets. Is that correct?
Right. When we could go out and gather, I'd show them how to process it, but we didn't get to do that too often. Sometimes it would be the weather, sometimes other reasons, so, but I did show them how to gather and how to process it.
We're very happy that you were with us today and that you continue this tradition. And in this show, Bessie Russell, Weaving a Tradition, we've included among your works, we've included some works from your daughters, Vicki Coppage and Teresa Millian. So viewers who go to the Saline Courthouse to see Bessie's exhibit will find some works from her family. I think there's also a basket there from your great-grandson, Jordan. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's, I believe, 4 generations in your family now who do basketry.
Right.
That sounds like quite an accomplishment. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel good. And as I said, I just hope they keep going, keep it up and stay with it. Because that's what my goal is when I teach. I want them to stay with it and teach others what they've learned.
Bessie, we're so glad to speak with you today, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And for viewers, if you would like to see this exhibit, it's again titled Bessie Russell, Weaving a Tradition. It's on exhibit now at Saline Courthouse Museum through October the 30th. If you'd like to know more about it, go online to visit CherokeeNation.com. Bessie, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.